Good evening. I'm Timothy Buckley, and this is my presentation on Every Student Succeeds Act of 2015, also known as ESSA. So some background to begin. ESSA was signed into law on December 10th, 2015 by President Obama. It was a reauthorization of the ESEA Act of 1965. And this legislation was an update and an improvement on No Child Left Behind, which had been signed into law by President Bush in 2002. The goal of ESSA was to work to close the achievement gaps seen in No Child Left Behind. So to begin, a Department of Education quote that I feel really shows the purpose of ESSA. Parents and educators and elected officials across the country recognized that a strong, updated law was necessary to expand opportunity to all students, support schools, teachers, and principals to strengthen our education system and economy. So this really points to the need for us as a country to make the improvements that were seen as necessary based on previous legislation. So the first thing in regards to the actual bill itself that I wanted to focus on are the requirements lifted. So the annual yearly progress, highly qualified teacher classification, both of those requirements were lifted. Funds became more flexible as opposed to more tied down as they were in No Child Left Behind. And requirements of student test scores to teacher and principal evaluations were removed. School improvement grant funds and requirements were also removed. With the removal of those, there were also some state requirements. So one of the main goals of ESSA was to move from federal control over to state control. And this includes some state requirements that this includes are more student subgroups being reported in test results, the continuation of 95% of students tested, states needing to identify low-performing schools and develop improvement plans to help those struggling schools. Report effective teacher distribution. This mainly was to make sure that we were having effective teachers throughout our state, not necessarily clumped up in what would be seen as more successful areas. And then to involve a diverse group of stakeholders in the decision making. ESSA really takes the control and tries to kind of spread the love as opposed to previous legislation that had made it a little bit more one size fits all. With the new requirements and with the changes, states also had new abilities. State leaders were able to decide how to evaluate teachers, decide assessment tools and avenues, and to design new rating systems for schools. Funding. The funding changes of ESSA. ESSA generally made funding more flexible. It also increased funding to preschools, career and technical education programs, the arts, and transportation in regards to allowing students more transportation to increase their amount of schools available to them. Effects on curriculum and assessment. So the state-based high-quality academic standards were added in. So it was a move from Common Core to academic standards based at the state level. More diverse course offerings. So we could see this through the increased funding to to career and technical as well as arts. More innovative curriculum and assessment, so with more control at the state level for assessments and the innovation into assessment tools, mainly that being computer-based testing. That also changes the availability within the curriculum. Main student benefits include an advanced equity across all populations. High quality academic standards, promotes innovation, so that innovation would directly affect student engagement and learning. And in the increased funding, giving the more course offerings are things that the students should be able to see at their level. Current and future effects. So ESSA is currently the predominant educational law impacting U.S. schools, and current and future funding assessment change. Current and future curriculum and assessment changes are made in direct response to ESSA. The significance of ESSA and the reasons that I believe that this is included in this project are that ESSA marks a major change in education reform as it decentralizes education requirements to the states, creates more flexibility in funding, and most importantly, ESSA strives to create equity in a system that was demonstrating inequalities. So we were seeing inequalities with No Child Left Behind specifically, and ESSA was created to really diminish those inequalities and provide a high quality education for all, which is its main reason for being included in this project. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.